Dear all, good morning and welcome to Optimize of MEP QTO to Win More Project live webinar held by Global Malaysia. Stay tuned and we shall begin shortly. Kindly take note to the following ground rules before our session commences. We are truly appreciated with your kind cooperations throughout this webinar. First, please drop your questions in the live chat box and we will answer your questions shortly at the end of the session. Please remain mute yourself and we will answer your questions everyone. On behalf of Global Malaysia, we would like to apologize for the technical issue happened earlier. We shall begin again by showing you our TME C introduction video. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Driven by global trends, the AEC industry is in a time of digital transformation. A growing number of AEC professionals are using MEP to make work more efficient and effective. This is where QBCOS, the TME C, comes in. It makes MEP quantity takeoff easier. While the traditional quantity takeoff process for QS is to transform the contents of each drawings into actual quantities. The following shows the possible difficulties of the process. M&D consists of various device quantities. It's easy to lose quantities. Piping are drawn in complex directions, requiring careful segmentation and itemization according to specifications. Drawings often change, and a manual comparison is not able to find the location of changes quickly and accurately. In cross-checking for error, hard to find the relation in between the quantity and the drawings. Have you also encountered such problems? Let's see how TME C can help to transform your MEP quantity takeoff process. TME C is a 5D beam solution for MEP professionals, including developers, main contractors, subcontractors, consultants, and experts. It greatly improves the efficiency of quantity takeoff in MEP through fast identification, accurate modeling, and a flexible quantification. 3 core advantages: easy to learn, intelligent and efficient, and 3D visualization. Easy to learn. MEP quantity takeoff process is consistent against the conventional method. It's easier to use. It streamlines the MEP quantity takeoff process for each function and complete calculation in a few steps. Intelligent and efficient. TME C has built-in standardized calculation rules to ensure the accuracy of project results. With powerful recognition algorithm, TME C is able to achieve accurate identification of the drawings. It supports batch calculation of pipelines and devices in seconds and separate statistics by their specifications simultaneously. Utilize the intelligent comparison algorithm to compare drawing differences accurately. It's easy to deal with drawing changes. By flexibly adjusting the display or hiding of drawings, uncalculated quantities can be found quickly. TME C supports high flexibility in generating quantities with variety of output modes, such as podium bolting, floor, room, and combination. It also supports accurate positioning and clearly traceable. 3D visualization. In contrast with conventional method, all elements can be visualized in 3D modeling effect.
Thank you for your time to have a watch with our TME C introduction video. Before our webinar start, on behalf of Global Malaysia, we would like to apologize for the technical issue happened just now, and we hope that this won't affect your day. Now, let's invite the country manager, Mr. Chua Lucien, to present. Enjoy the webinar.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Sorry for the technical issue earlier. Right, so let me just briefly introduce myself a bit. My name is Lucien, and I'm the product manager for QBCOS TME C. Right, so for today's session, we'll be going through the following contents, right? Starting from a brief introduction on TME C, some scenario-based values during quantity takeoff, and finally a quick demo on our new function release. So with that said, let us begin and start off with a quick introduction on the software. So what is TME C? Right, for those who do not know, TME C is a quantity takeoff software for MEP works, right, which helps to generate the quantities rapidly. It also helps to cross-check the quantities that you have identified in your drawings by linking them. And in overall, it is designed to mainly enhance your quantity takeoff experience. So currently we have a few traits that are available in TME C, which are the ACMV, electrical works, and also plumbing and sanitary. And besides that, we're also planning to release our fire protection services module by the end of this year. Now let us go straight into the point and see how TME C is able to help with different types of scenarios. So first of all, let us talk about numerator quantities, which is commonly calculated across all trades. Whether be it electrical, ACMV, or plumbing, we have quantities in all these trades that are required to be calculated in numbers. So for example, in an electrical drawing, we have lighting fixtures, fan points, socket outlets, switches, which are all calculated by numbers. Same goes for ACMV drawings, whereby there are dampers, air drills, and diffusers as well. And lastly, for plumbing drawings, we also have water closets, sink showers, and valves, which are all calculated in numbers as well, right? So now let us take a look at how TME C is able to help or improve the quantity takeoff process in this situation. Well, in TME C, we have this device identification function to help us identify legends in a layout drawing. So in this example, we have identified the lighting fixtures in this lighting layout. right, which comes up to a total of 267 numbers. Right, next we have an ACME layout, where in this case we shall identify the air grills, for example. And again, we just need to use the device identification tool to identify all the air grills in this layout. So once we click to confirm, it will scan the entire drawing and come up to a total number of 212 numbers. And finally, we have a plumbing drawing. And in this case, we'll be using a sitting toilet or water closet, for example. So just by using the same function and the same steps, we can identify all the sanitary devices in the layout drawing with just a single function. Right, so next in this scenario, we'll talk about drawing demarcation, or the classification of quantities according to a region. So sometimes we might be instructed to demarcate drawings into different regions and separate out the quantities accordingly. So in this case, we might need to separate the quantities according to different zones, different construction stages, typical rooms, or even for the purpose of progress claims. Right, so how can TMEC help in this scenario? Well, in TMEC, we have a define region function where we can set up few different regions in the drawing area. In this case, we shall create two different zones, namely Zone 1 and Zone 2. Right? So we can even change the color of these zones as well. And after setting up the zones, we are still able to adjust the boundaries of these areas using the green points as shown right here. After that, we can just proceed to generate our BQ, and we can see that in our BQ, the quantities will have been separated out according to the regions that we have just set up earlier. Right, so here, Zone 1, we have the quantities separated out, and Zone 2, we have the quantity separated out as well. Right, we can even double click on these quantities to do a quick reverse check, which will bring us back to the drawing area where the quantity is located at. Right, so in our third scenario, let us take a look at some challenges faced while taking off quantities for electrical work. So in some cases, we might receive multiple drawings to form a whole drawing. With that said, we still need to locate the cable or wiring quantities across all these drawings. Right, and also, cross-floor cabling works is commonly calculated when there are multiple floors involved. These vertical lengths may be difficult to calculate at times and are usually very time-consuming. So in that case, let us see how TMEC is able to improve some of these processes in the electrical trade. So in TMEC, we have these drawing management functions to help us adjust our drawings before doing quantity takeoff. Here we have some tools to help us remove any unneeded lines in the drawing. And with the help of a moving tool, we can actually merge two parts of a drawing together. Right, so just by moving the second part of the drawing to the first part of the drawing, we can actually merge two drawings together, or even multiple drawings. Next, we have a show or hide layer function to help with simple wiring or cable estimations. So if the cable or wiring routes has been layered appropriately, we can just show these routes and hide the rest of the drawing using the show or hide layer tool. Right, and after that, we can just use the single line identification tool to estimate the length of this entire cable or wiring route. And so we can actually view this quantity by just clicking on the View Quantities tool. And it will show up with the length of what we have identified so far right at the bottom here. Right, so finally, let us take a look at how cross-floor cabling works is done in TMEC. So first, let us construct a cable trunk that rises from the first floor to the second floor and connect it to a distribution box from there. Right, so and we can see in 3D that we now have a cable trunk that connects to the distribution boxes across the first and second floor. So after that, we can just proceed to insert the cables or wires inside these trunkings that we have just constructed, right? So we can just highlight the route, and you can see that inside the trunking, we have inserted cables inside of them, which will be included in our quantity report as well. So moving on to our next scenario, which is the quantity takeoff for ACME quantities. Let us have a look at some of the commonly faced challenges. So in ACME, oftentimes we may find it hard to calculate duct feedings. Also, it may be very time-consuming to calculate ducting work if there are too many sizes used. And at times, we may need to consider the insulation area as well, if there are any insulation used. So in this case, what does TME C offer to help in this scenario? Well, to calculate air ducts, we have a duct system identify function, which helps us to identify ducting lengths. So all we need to do is pick on the two parallel duct lines and the label. And after confirming its attributes, we can then identify the entire duct length. Next, we can also use the duct feeding identification tool to fill in the feedings in between the ducts as well. Right, so for ducting insulation, let us take a look in 3D and select these two vertical ducts for insulation. So all we need to do is modify its attributes on the left to modify the insulation thickness. And we can quickly view these insulation quantities by using the View Quantity tool again to see the insulation area of these two short vertical air ducts, as you can see below right here. Right, so lastly, in the quantity takeoff for plumbing and sanitary, let us see what challenges are there and what TME C is able to do to help in this last scenario. So in plumbing and sanitary, cross-floor piping can be tedious or difficult at times, especially if there are many risers used. Also, pipe elevation levels may change frequently as well in the building. And because of the different equipment height, the pipe elevation will need to be adjusted to fit the respective equipment height as well. Right, so how can TME C help? So in this example, let us draw some connecting pipes to different sanitary equipment in this layout drawing. So here we'll be connecting to a wash basin, a shower head, and also a water closet using the same pipe. And then we can view in 3D and see that all these different sanitary equipment has a short vertical pipe connected to it. So all these pipes actually connect to the sanitary equipment using their corresponding height. For example, the default elevation for the sink is 0.8 meters, 2 meters for the shower head, and also a 0.38 meters above ground distance for the water closet. And this applies the same to all other equipment as well. We can actually adjust their elevation height in their corresponding attributes, right? Right, so that concludes some of the values provided by TME C in certain scenarios. Now let us have a look at our new function, which has just recently been released. Now, more often than not, we might receive scan drawing files, especially during the early stages, such as handling stage. So how do we deal with quantity takeoff while using these scan drawings, right? Here, I would like to show you guys a live demo of the function itself and how we can use it on scan drawings, right? So let me just bring you guys to the software right away. Right, so as you can see here, I have a scan drawing of an electrical drawing layout ready in the software. Right, so here we have our newly added scan device function. Right, so how it works is the same as the device function. but it only applies to scan PDF drawings, right? So let me just do an example for you guys. For example, I'd like to take off the quantities for this power socket, right? So all we need to do is use the rectangular selection tool to select the legend, or we can even use a polyline tool to have a more precise, a more exact selection of the legend itself. Sorry. So let me just select using the polyline selection tool. Right. By using this tool, we have a more precise selection of our legends, right? And if we click on the legend itself, we can also bring out the eraser tool as well. Right. So what the eraser tool does is that we can clean up some unwanted lines in the legend, so that we can have a better accuracy in the identification of this legend, right? So if you're happy with the modification, just click on OK to confirm it. Right, next, we can also pick on the label if there is any. So let me just use the rectangular tool to select on this label right here. Right, next we have this match similarity. What this does is actually the higher your match similarity is, the higher the accuracy of your results. Right, so if your accuracy is going to around 100%, your results should be showing only a few results with higher accuracy. Right, so after that, you can just click on Find All to scan the entire scan drawing to identify the same legends, right? So you can see on the right here, we have a result window with all your results categorized according to their accuracies. So 100% to 90%, 90% to 80%, with all the legends listed down right here. We can even do a quick cross-checking, right, by just clicking on the legend itself, which will bring us to the drawing area, right? So here we can do some quick cross-checking. And if we see that there is some legends that we don't want to be identified, we can actually just uncheck it, right? Or we can even do a batch select. Right, so after we are happy with the results, after we've confirmed every legend, we can just proceed to identify them. Right, and you can see in the drawing area that all the legends that we have identified so far has been highlighted with their respective colors. Right, so as simple as that, that is our newly released scan device function, which acts the same as our device function, but applies on scan PDF drawings. All right, and that concludes our TME C webinar of the day. Right, I hope you guys have some insights of what the software has to offer, and please do fill up the feedback form as well to let us know what we can do to help. Right, and in the meantime, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Right, we will have time to answer around 1 or 2 questions before we end the session today. Right, so here we have a question from Chun Kiat Ng. Right, can the software calculate supports or brackets as well? Right, so let me just show you directly in the software. Right, so our software actually supports a calculation of supports as well, but in numbers. So for example, your cable trays, your pipes, your ductings, right? You can also include the number of supports when you calculate the quantities, right? For example, in the cable tray, we can actually set the support spacing interval, right? So maybe for every 6 meters, we'll have a support, or every 3 meters, we'll have a support number, right? So same goes for the piping as well. So for piping, if we have supports, we can include it inside the support spacing as well. So let's say every pipe, every 2 meters, we have a support spacing, we can just include it. And for like water pipes, you can actually do a preset on the pipe support intervals. For example, for water supply system, for steel pipes, you can actually set the distance between each supports, right? For each sizes, how many supports we need between each distances. For example, 3 meters apart, 3.5 meters apart. All right, next we have another question from Koxian Chang. Right, so what if my PDF drawings have multiple pages? Do you need to import it one by one? Right, so you actually don't have to import it one by one, right? So for example, let me just import a PDF drawing from my laptop. So here I have an example of a PDF drawing, right? It has multiple pages inside this document, right? So if you want to import multiple pages, you can actually select the ranges of the pages that you want to import, or even batch select the entire drawing with all the pages included. You can even preview the drawings before you import them. Right? So after you're happy with the range of pages, you can just click on open to import all the drawings. Right? You can see in the drawing manager that all your drawings, all the pages has been imported into the software. Right, so I think, so if you guys have any further questions, feel free to drop them in the feedback form. So I'll be happy to answer you guys after this webinar as well. So now I'm going to pass back to my MC, Kelvin. Right.
Thank you, Lucian. And I think our audience today do really appreciate with your presence and your fruitful sharing on the features of TME C. For your information, we will be having an exclusive TME C live online training next Thursday. We do encourage you to participate in this training, and we will guide you hand-to-hand on how to operate QubiCast TME C to conduct mechanical and electrical quantity takeoff. You may register directly from us with the link stated in the chat box, or you can register from the appreciation email that you will be receiving from us when this webinar is over. Once again, on behalf of Global Malaysia, we thank for your participations, and we do hope you are well briefed with our speakers about the cutting edge of TME C. Before this, just give us your valuable feedback with this link so that we can improve in future. We are much appreciated with your kind cooperation today. Thank you and have a nice day. And we do really hope to see you again in future long-term webinar. Have a nice day. Thank you.